Okay, so how do you describe various dependencies in Angular? This is a continued stream for the previous stream. Okay, how do you describe various dependencies in Angular applications? Angular packages, support packages, polyfill packages. They are into fall. Angular core and optimal modules. Their main package name depends with Angular. Support packages, third-party library that makes present for Angular apps to run. Polyfill package. Polyfill pull tabs in the browser, JavaScript dependent application. I didn't know. But okay, we can divide into three. That's reasonable. Angular packages, support packages, and polyfill packages. What is declarable in Angular? Declarable is a class that you can add to a declaration list of an ng module. This class types such as components, directives, and pipes can be declared in the module. Okay, then is a class type that you can add to a declaration list of an ng. Okay. What are the restrictions on declarable classes? A class that is already declared in another ng module that can't be declared again. That's true. Ng module classes can't be declared again. Service classes can't be declared again. Shouldn't be declared. Then that should be injectable. No, okay, they are in providers. Okay, helper classes. Okay, they can't be in declarable, or maybe they can be in providers. I guess. When to use ng on it and the constructor in Angular. I guess last time we have thought about it, and yes, the constructor we already talked about in the previous stream. The constructor, like it's about the component tree. The constructor is mainly used when Angular is building a component tree and to initialize an object fully, whereas IONJON is used when the component lifecycle starts, and where you have to initialize the objects post the Angular component tree is being built. Like suppose an input variable is there, um, input variable is there or input object is there on any particular component. Input property is being set on any component and the value is being coming from a parent component, and that is where you have to initialize or modify your internet variable. That is where you do enjoin initialization for the constructor. Again, these are the necessary objects or necessary variables that you need to build a component when Angular component tree is being built. I guess, yeah. This is the default method of the class that is given the class instantiated and issues property initialization of the fields, the class and itself classes. Angular or better dependency injector analyzes constructor parameters, and when it creates a new instance by calling a new class, it tries to find providers that match types of the constructor parameters, resolves them, and passes them to a constructor like new my class with some argument. Okay. Instance of my class tries to find providers, and if it doesn't find new it gives a provider error. Matches the types of the constructor parameters, resolves them, and passes them to constructor like my class some argument. That's cool. Logically called Angular 2 or mostly Angular to indicate the Angular is done creating the component. TypeScript import component Angular. Export class app implements. Okay, just example. What is expression context in Angular? Template helps us to render HTML with some dynamic parts depending on the data. It allows us to express data, property binding, event binding, and template concept to be able to express the behavior. Angular comes with its own symbols. Okay, this is mostly related to template where you can have different types of expression and how do you build this. Like there is double curly braces for interpolation, square bracket for property binding, a double A rounded bracket for event binding, hash for variable declaration, or you can also declare a handler. You can also say it as a handler. Star for a structural directive. Good. How can you add a active class to a selected element in a list component? Okay, I don't know. Add class to a element on click and remove on click of other element item and highlight the current one. Okay, that's an interesting example. Like we need to see star ng for let n of list click select an ng class active is active and okay ng class is being set on the is active or is active in is this dot selected equal to item. If you click on it, it will selected select a particular item and on this is active, it is going to send an item here and the selected item is equal to the current item being sent by the active function, then the class is being set. This is cool. Okay, we got to know how to select an active element. That's cool. What is the purpose of ng module? How do we decide to create an ng module? I don't know. It's more or less linked to the Angular module. The purpose of Angular module is to decide to create a new ng module. Ng module helps us organize our components directory and services into logical unit, each focused on a future, declaration, bootstrap, and services. No. What is the difference between Angular module and JavaScript module? Okay, this is an interesting question. So the difference between Angular module and JavaScript module. JavaScript modules are individual files with JavaScript code in them. I guess in Angular module again compiles to a JavaScript module at the end, right? JavaScript models are individual files with JavaScript code in them. Okay, to make them what it is, to make what it is in them available, you write an export statement usually after writing code like this. I doubt this is right. Then we'll need to this core file in the another file you import like this. Ng module are classes. JavaScript modules are not like this, I guess. JavaScript modules. Dot this. These are the JavaScript modules, function, micros, all, and you export them as a module or you just export them. Okay, they're just functions wrapped in a round but round packets and I have really bad knowledge of JavaScript. I need to go through it again. We can do one thing, we can prepare a list of items that we need to go through. What we'll do is here we have an emotion and we'll just go through a to-do list. Okay, and we'll just go to like this. Okay, add a view, add the bundle. Why is it adding so many things? Motion things and so be recover. Wow, there's so much to do. Okay, here's model. So we just add it. Things that I need to look into. Research. I can check into research and have this. The ng model class differs from JavaScript model in the following. The ng model forms declarable classes only. Declarable are the only classes that matter to the Angular compiler. Instead of defining all member classes in one giant file as a JavaScript model will list model classes in the ng model declaration list. That's good. And ng model can only export the declarable class it owns or imports from other models. It does not declare or export to any other kind of classes unlike JavaScript models. The ng model can extend entire application its services by adding providers to the ng model products list. That's good. How will you make use of ng on N8? So how will you make use of ng on N8? I don't know. Just enjoying it. Just import it and use it. Configuration and tools. Let's jump onto this. So yes, we have a really long way to go. Like architecture interaction, it can be quite boring. We'll just go through all the questions, and yes, it's going to take time. Alright. So what is an Angular C? Do you have any comments? I hate to see that I don't have any comments. Okay. Now, what is this error warning now? Maybe my latency is really low. Okay. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Configuration and tools. What is a CLI? A CLI is a command line interface or tool to scaffold the Angular apps using Node.js style CommonJS models and it can install using below npm command. Yes, I just done it a couple of minutes ago. Below the list of commands which will come handy when creating Angular projects. Okay, so we will also try some of the methods here which are in. We'll try to install the CLI also and run an application. And what I will do is I will just say global. Okay, creating ng new, ng generate, ng class, and using that component, directive, enum, module, pipe. So I guess CLI provides a lot of options to do. What is the codealizer? Codealizer provides a TS link rules for static code analysis of Angular TypeScript projects, or you can run the static code analyzer over the web apps, native script, Ionic, etc. Angular CLI has support for this, and it can be used as below: Engineer, Codealizer, NGLint. Okay. I guess there is also ESLint and ESLint available, and most of the people prefer a customized version of it rather than preferring Codealizer. I don't know. Most many other companies that I've worked, they prefer their custom implementation of ESLint, and then they follow standards of well-known companies like Airbnb, Twitter, Docker, etc. So yeah, so what is Angular CLI Builder? Angular 8 CLI Builder of API is stable and available to developers who want to customize Angular CLI by adding or modifying commands. For example, you can supply a builder to perform an entirely new task or change which third-party tool is used by an existing command. Okay, so you can add more commands to the CLI, nothing more. As a builder, is a function that uses Architect API to perform complex operations such as build, test. Builder code is defined in an NPM package. For example, Browser Builder runs a Webpack build for a browser target, and Karma Builder starts a Karma server and runs a Webpack build for a unit. Okay, this is something new that I got to learn. A builder API function is a function that uses Architect API for some complex process such as build or test. Okay, Browser Builder runs a Webpack build for a browser target, and Kernel Builder starts kernel server and runs the Webpack build for it. Okay, builder performs complex processes build or test. I doubt that's how you're going to search for it. Don't tell me. What are the builder figures? I don't get it. It builds the application. I guess it's just adds, makes it, it compiles the application and creates a big build, a main.js file, I can say, in the distribution folder or into the dist folder. What is this dist actually? Dist is a whole dist will form. We'll go for like dist will form distribution. Okay, good. Like I'm going to distribute this build to some servers or maybe a Docker container, etc. How to make a invoke a builder, ng build, ng run, and invoke a specific builder with specific target configuration, workstation configuration, emulation contains default configuration for built-in builders. Okay, how to create app shell in Angular. Should create app shell in Angular. App shell, generate app shell. So let's way to render a portion of your application via route at a build time. This is useful to a first paint of your application that appears quickly because the browser can render HTML and CSS without the need to initialize JavaScript. You can achieve this using Angular CLI, which generates an app shell for running server side of your app. That I don't know. What is app shell? I think I used to remember, now I forgot. Okay, a skeleton of an application. While the browser is download the full client version, it might show a skeleton or maybe some essential parts like header and a footer, and then the middle part keeps on loading until the browser actually builds the client version of it. Okay, so if I create into the new app shell, what it does, okay, it creates a separate application for it, separate builder configuration for it. Okay, and there is a shell route also. Okay, verify. Run my app shell development production by SHO shell content. I think it's kind of tricky right now. Okay, I'm sorry with that. I'm not sure why it's on. Okay, so if I make the CD URL and I will just get demo, I'll just go CD, make the app. Having someone in my house, so I'll just wait for a while. So what we are going to do here now is, sorry, there's a lot of disturbance in my house. Okay, I'm going to create a new demo app so we can try some things that we are. Okay, difference between Angular J8 and AOT compilation. This is a favorite question of a lot of interviewers. So Angular has two types of build, dev build or prod build. Just in time is a type of compilation that compiles the app in browser at runtime. The compilation is the default when you run the ng-build only or ng-serve build and serve locally. CLI commands, that is below commands are used for git ng-build and ng-serve. Ahead of time compilation is the type of compiler that compiles at the build time. Like, I don't get this, like just in time compiler. And so if the compilation that compiles apps at the build time. So if you are building an application, can't you find the error in just in time? For AOT compilation include AOT option, the ng build, and ng serve command of option. So ng build or ng build dev is for development build, ng build prod is a production build. Dev build has source maps are generated, source maps are not generated. Dev build is not modified and amplified. That's good. Dev build is not tree shaped. Okay, so if there is any library that is being not used, like this RHS library, which is around 5 MB, I guess 5 to 6 MB, and there is 5 to 6 MB of library, and then it's still will be included. The entire library will be included in dev build, and when in production build, everything will be tree shaped, and only the part that is being used or um, it's No, yeah, important, not necessarily important, that has been actually used by the application will be collected from the library and other part will be discarded. Whereas production will AOTs what takes place and there will no AOTs takes place. Verification, the process of removing excess white space comments and potential tokens like curly braces and semicolons. Okay. Amplification is transforming code to use short variable and function names. That's good. So minifying is different where we remove extra spaces, comments and optional tokens and curly braces and semicolons. Maybe just like everything that is extra. But with just respect to you know not respect to library but not respect to the code but yeah the white spaces and all. Like that is looks appealing to the developer. It's just not used for it's not useful for the compiler or the computer for our server. Amplification again, long variable names can be maybe shortened and the function names are being shortened. That's good. Tree shaking in the process of removing any code that we are not actually using in application from the final bundle. That's good. The ngbuild command, the prod meta flag compulsory. We also need to look into this JIT compilation. In-depth JIT compilation. I don't get this. Like, if it is compiling into JIT, if it is building a build of any application, then how it's not able to compile? Like, it's not able to compare it. It's compiling the app in runtime. So is it taking the TypeScript files to the actual browser and then compiling it on runtime? Or what else is happening? I don't get it. Well, let's add it to my to-do. We'll add it to our to-do. I just want a list. Why it's not getting a list? I want a list. I want a list. Hmm. What is the advantages with AOT? AOT fast rendering, of course. Like you remove a lot of things, a lot of unnecessary variables. You bundle the application, you tree shape the application and all. So of course the loading will be fast and the rendering will be fast as the application size is small and it's of course pre-compiled. So, sorry for the disturbance. The browser downloads a pre-compiled version of the application so it can render the application immediately without compiling the app. Fewer asynchronous requests. It inlines external HTML templates and CSS style template. This is an application JavaScript which eliminates separate AJAX requests. That's good. Fewer asynchronous requests. It inlines external HTML templates. Okay. So external templates, okay, that are being uh, used. What are external templates? By the way? CSS styles sits within the application. JavaScript which eliminates separate AJAX requests. I don't get this. So I will say defining inline and external templates using relative. Under assets. Okay, so but there might be some HTML templates in assets and they you might be specifying a path to that particular HTML template. So what it does is just rather than making it an asynchronous, it just copies that from the asset and uh, I don't know, pastes into the template or replaces that particular path in the template with the actual template. You can keep the file key included in access HTML. Okay, method something new. Smaller Angular framework download. So it does not require downloading the Angular compiler. Yes, that's right. In JIT, the compiler is being taken to the browser and the compilation process happens. Yes. Here, the Angular framework download size is not there. The application is being already compiled, and the Angular compiler doesn't exist uh, when the build is taken to the browser. And it dramatically reduces the application payload to detect template errors earlier. Of course, it has to detect the earlier because it's not taking the compiler rate itself. So that comes as mandatory. It can report template with finding errors during the build step itself. Okay, as it compiles at the build time only. Better security compiles HTML and components into JavaScript, so there won't be any injection attacks. That's good. Okay. So what are the advantage of AOT? If someone asks me, I would say like fast rendering, the compiler is not being taken, there are fewer asynchronous requests, the build size is small, and the template errors are being detected earlier, and it has better security. As there won't be any injection attacks as the template estimate and design components are being already compiled into JavaScript. What are the three phases of AOT? Three phases of AOT. That's good. If someone asks how does AOT work, we can say like the code analysis in the phase graphic compiler and AOT collector creates a representation of a source. Okay. Code generation. It handles the interpretation as well as places restriction on what it interprets. 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 Okay. Interprets. Mm. Template type checking. In this case, Angular TypeScript template compiler uses the TypeScript compiler to validate the binding expression of templates. So I don't get it. What happens here is code analysis. AOT collector creates a representation of a source. I don't know what is the representation of a source. Representation of a source. Then there is code generation. It handles the interpretation as well as the places restriction on what it interprets. Okay. Template type checking. In this phase, an Angular template compiler uses the TypeScript compiler to validate the binding expression in templates. Okay, I think okay. Last one I understood. The earlier two I don't get it, so I'm just adding it to do so I can understand it and learn. Do you have any comments? No, we don't have any comments. What is this? TJ script and for 4 seconds. Less complete. Okay. Three phases of Angular AOT code analysis, code generation, template type checking. How can I use arrow functions in AOT? What's the problem? No, arrow functions are lambda functions that can't be used to assign values to the decorator properties. For example, can be used to assign values to decorator properties. For example, the following snippet is in value. My service, use factory, and you get a service. Okay. Get service, then there is like it's uh, creating an object of my service. Okay. component. This is still use arrow function. It separates an error node in place of the function, and the compiler later interrupts the node, interprets the node. It reports an error to return the arrow function into an exported function. Okay. Okay, I'm not sure if it is widely used, if anyone uses like providers in the component itself. That's kind of not area that uh, it might be depending on the company to company also. But it seems to be a hell lot of work if we are doing this. Okay. What is the purpose of metadata JSON file? Is that's good. The metadata JSON file, it can be treated as diagram, as overall structure of a decorative metadata, represented as an abstract syntax tree. AST during the analysis phase, the AOT collector scans the metadata recorded in Angular decoration and outputs metadata information in metadata JSON files, one per .d.ts file. Okay, what is this? I don't get it. The metadata JSON file can be treated as a diagram of an overall structure of a decorative metadata. Okay, don't get it. Represented as abstract syntax tree, that is AST. Okay, during the analysis phase, okay, the earlier one, analysis phase, code analysis, code generation phase, and then template type checking. AOT collector scans the metadata recording in the Angular decorators and outputs metadata information in metadata JSON files. That is for every component or every decorator or every service in a d.ts file, declarations files. I don't get this too. We'll just add it to our to-do list to research more. Okay, we have something new to study. Can I use any JavaScript feature for expression syntax in AOT? I don't know. Don't you think so? These are the very deep questions. The one is going to ask it. Maybe a senior developer or something who is dealing with more of a configuration phase of an application and the architectural building of an application. There is where these things might be used. I'm not sure if a junior or mid senior level developer looks into this or if ever comes across this um, type of configuration in everyday in day-to-day development process. Okay. Can I use JavaScript feature for expression syntax in AOT, although AOT collector and SMS is subset are limited JavaScript features? Okay. If an expression uses unsupported syntax, the collector writes to an error node, writes an error node to the metadata JSON file. Later point of the time the compiler reports an error, if it needs that piece of metadata to generate the application code. Okay. Okay, so it just consoles all the error that is reported in the metadata JSON file. What is this? Can I use JavaScript feature for an expression syntax in it? What is an expression syntax in it? What is expression syntax? If the words and symbols in an expression are correctly combined, initially expressions in access are a little bit hard to read. but with good understanding of expressions, a little practice becomes much easier. What is this? Expression syntax. Expression, operators, constants, identifiers. Okay, so um, I got this. We are using these constants, operators, and identifiers functions to like sum, average, data, length, anything to create an expression, and we are trying to convey some message to an AOT. Okay, so AOT doesn't understand it. Language syntax may with an expression and statements in the expression is the product evaluates to entirely. Okay, statement is a snippet of code that performs an action. Variable JavaScript expects a statement you can write an expression. I will get it. Why a AOT collector understands a subset or limited of JavaScript features. It is an expression used if an expression uses unsupported syntax. Okay, so it does understand some expressions, but if it is an unsupported syntax, it is not being supported by AOT. The collector writes an error now. Okay, so what does AOT understand? Um, and code analysis is code generation. Type check. Okay, so it's saying that maybe in template, if you're writing an expression, it won't be able to understand it. It won't be uh, able to convert or evaluate to an error. Okay, like 1 plus 2 plus 3, 4, 5, and then the maybe I don't know, like you write and wrong expression is such that like without some strict type checking, or like you are adding a boolean to a string, suppose, and this is where it won't be able to compile it to an error, or like find out an error in that particular expression. It will just keep on like type check with the existing variables in the component. Maybe that's how it's working right now. So I don't know. It's just something which is we need to go deep into. The ways to control AOT compilation by providing control. You can control your app compilation in two ways: by providing template compiler options in tsconfig JSON file, by configuring Angular metadata with decorators. Okay, AOT compilation can be controlled by providing template compiler options. Okay, okay, I got this. So in AOT compilation, it is like code analysis, code generation, and then there is input analysis. There where you can like provide some custom rules and maybe some extensions in TS config. And this is something which you need to compile, something which you don't need to compile, or these are the linting issues that you need to like ignore and all. This is where AOT will just like listen to those options and obey to those options and perform the actions accordingly, or perform the build accordingly. And configuring Angular metadata with decorators. So maybe component decorators metadata can also be configured. I guess Angular metadata with decorators. I don't know. Yeah. What is a Bazel tool? Bazel tool is a powerful build tool developed and massively used by Google, and it can keep track of dependencies between different packages and build targets. To Angular still use Bazel. Hmm. So build tool. Angular uses tool to build Django. Which tool does Angular uses to build? Webpack build tool. Okay, I do have a really limited knowledge of like is the Webpack is similar to Bazel or not. We'll just see. Webpack versus Bazel. Okay, Bazel and Webpack are two different ways. Okay, there is a difference for a bit. So dev tools are Webpack, build tools are Make, Jake, Current, Gulp, and Bazel. CI are Jenkins, Bamboo, Circle CI, CodeFresh. Dev tools are Webpack, Rollup, TypeScript, and SAS. So these are dev tools and these are build tools. Well, HBuild are using Bazel and configuration of particular application is done using Webpack. But there I guess there is also Webpack compiler, right? Bazel is being used by Google, Asana, Square, JVM, Airbnb. Webpack is by Airbnb, Instagram, Bank, Pinterest, Udemy, and a lot of other things. So what is the difference between Bazel? Bazel correct reproducible fast builds for everyone. Okay. Bazel is a build tool that builds code quickly and reliably. It is used to build the majority of Google software and that is used with designed to handle build problems present in Google's development environment. Webpack is a bundler for JavaScript and friends. A bundler for JavaScript and friends packs many models into bundle assets. So it's still a build tool or not? Okay. I think they are two different tools that somewhat do the similar operation. I guess I am really out of option right now. I have no knowledge of this, but let's just read what it is. Whether a powerful tool is to develop messages by Google. Okay, it can keep a track of dependencies between different packages and build targets. Okay, in Angular you can build a CL application with Bazel. Angular framework itself is built with Bazel. Below are the list of key advantages. It creates the possibility of building your backends and frontends with the same tool. That's good. Incremental build and tests. That is something also good. That you incrementally build the application and test it accordingly. Where you like you build your application in chunks and then you can test those chunks. I guess this is what they mean. It creates the possibility to have a remote build from the cache on a build farm. As also one of the advantage comes with. Okay, so I think this is we need to search more about Bazel and Webpack, I guess, or maybe we can take a course on Bazel and Webpack and like research. We can look research on Bazel and Webpack and tech and next stream. Why? How do you use Bazel with Angular? So just add Angular Bazel. Mm, new application, install packaging, create application, select option. Because a lot of times we have like Webpack Builder also or Angular Builder also. Angular Builder files.
to filter data allows Angular data use Visual as a build tool. Okay. How to run Bazel directly. Bazel build, Bazel test, Bazel run. Etc. Give me a second, I will just. Chakshu? Hmm. So what is Redux and how does it relate to that? So sorry, they are my dogs. So Redux is a way to manage application state and improve maintainability of asynchronous in application providing a single source of truth. I guess it's not Redux, it's clearly using NGRX. The implementation of Redux principle. Is it Redux or is it Flux? I think it's Flux principles. Redux is mostly related to React, I guess. What are zones? Okay, this is one of the good questions that I was asked mostly. What are zones? What is change detection? How will you be good with NG zone services? What are zones? What is the change detection? What will be good use of NG zone service? The most common use of NG zone service is to optimize performance when starting a work consisting of one or most synchronous tasks, that is to do require UI updates or error handling to be handled by Angular. The common use of ng-zone service is to optimize performance when starting a work consisting of one or more asynchronous tasks that do not require UI updates. or error handling to be handled by Angular. Okay, I don't get it. Okay, let's see what is ngZone. What is trying to achieve? Zone.js text is also application is called ngZone. ngZone enables to explicitly run certain code outside Angular zones, preventing any change reduction. Okay, so like ngZone, this was something which we did in back days when we were studying Angular, but right now it's starting the knowledge starting to fade out. But yeah, it just clicked in that yeah, whenever you want to perform a particular operation outside Angular zone, or like you don't want mm, the changes in the variable to reflect or to result in running the change detection cycle, then is there were like we used in engine zone, and we used to perform certain application outside Angular. Uh, Angular's change detection cycle, and then assign to variables. I don't know what that can be a lot of application um, things that can be done using ngZone. See what is ngZone provides. Is in Angular zone. Uh, mhm. It will re-enter Angular zone from the task that is executed outside of the Angular zone. Started with run outside Angular. Okay, run outside Angular, and you can, I guess, perform certain things. What are the ngZone run outside Angular? ngZone examples. Let's see examples of ngZone. Processing tasks can think of thread, local storage, or JavaScript VMs. When to use ngZone? Right. Okay, we have our friendly neighborhood Stack Overflow. So got a bug in Angular project. This dot zone dot run, or making it like run outside Angular. ठीक है लाइव स्ट्रीम में आ गया सब कुछ और क्या बोलेगा अभी लाइव है मैं ऑलरेडी यहाँ